My name's Vanessa, I'm 29. I've worked as a pharmacist for the past 7 years, and after years of saving, budgeting, and saying no to things like bottomless brunches and ski weekends I couldn't afford, I bought myself a 2-bedroom condo. It's not huge or flashy, but it's mine. I worked for every square foot. I decorated it with love, chose every piece of furniture myself, and spent weekends repainting the walls to get rid of the previous owner's horrifying taste in beige. I live alone, and I like it that way. I enjoy coming home to quiet. I like that everything is where I left it. I like that I can make tea and read on the couch for hours without interruption. Peace is a fragile thing. Especially when your older sister is Courtney. Courtney is 32. Technically older, but it feels like I've always been the adult between us. She's the kind of person who floats through life on charm and chaos, expecting everyone else to do the catching when she inevitably falls. She has quit more jobs than I've ever applied to. Waitressing, marketing, some MLM thing involving essential oils that made the whole house smell like lavender and desperation. She bounces from apartment to apartment like a pinball. Always some dramatic exit, a bad roommate, a landlord with bad energy, or simply being unappreciated. Our parents have helped her out more times than I can count. I have helped her out more than I should have. But when she asked to stay with me for a few days, I said yes. Because I'm not heartless. Because she's my sister. Because I stupidly believed that this time would be different. That was 5 weeks ago. She showed up with a single overstuffed suitcase and a big grin, saying, "I'll only be here a few days, promise. Just until I sort things out." The first few days were fine, I guess. She slept in the guest room, brought in takeout once, and even helped fold some laundry. But soon enough, a few days turned into a week. Then 2. Then 4. Now 5. Her suitcase exploded all over the guest room within 48 hours. Clothes draped over the bedpost, bras hanging off my doorknob like decorations, makeup scattered across my bathroom counter like we shared it. She used my expensive shampoo and conditioner like it was a hotel freebie, poured herself wine from the bottle I was saving for a friend's engagement dinner, and left half-drunk LaCroix cans everywhere like I ran a beverage testing facility. She started treating my home like a free Airbnb. Left dishes in the sink for days. Took long showers in the morning when I was trying to get ready for work. Held loud FaceTime calls at midnight, laughing hysterically with some guy named Bryce who seemed to exist only on her phone. She never offered to buy groceries. Never offered rent. Never offered an end date. I tried to bring it up gently. I said things like, "So, have you looked into apartments yet, and do you know when you'll be moving out?" She'd wave it off with a breezy, "I'm working on it," or "Don't stress, I'm not staying forever." Meanwhile, she downloaded Tinder, got a spray tan in my bathroom, yes, really, and started making TikToks in my kitchen. I was at the end of my rope. But nothing prepared me for what happened today. I came home from a 10-hour shift, exhausted, my feet screaming in my shoes. I opened the door expecting the usual clutter, maybe Courtney on the couch with Netflix blaring. But instead, I walked into my living room to find 2 complete strangers standing there. A man and a woman. Late 20s maybe. Holding iced coffees, looking around like they were on a tour. Courtney stood next to them, smiling like she was hosting an open house. She chirped, "Vanessa. These are Jared and Talia. They're interested in renting the place from you." I froze. My brain couldn't even process what I was hearing. Renting the place? My place? I blinked, hoping I'd misunderstood. But then Courtney added, as if this was a totally normal thing to do, "I figured since you never use the second room and you might want to travel more or something, why not make passive income?" Passive income. I stared at her, at them, at the whole absurd scene unfolding in my living room. Jared was peering down the hallway. Talia asked if the building was pet-friendly. They thought this was a legitimate showing. That I, the owner of this condo, was trying to rent out part of it like some kind of Craigslist landlord. I couldn't even speak. I was too stunned. My ears were ringing. My heart was pounding. Courtney just kept smiling, oblivious to the storm that was rapidly forming behind my eyes. I excused myself, turned around, walked into my room, shut the door, and sat on the bed. My hands were shaking. I've never had a panic attack, but I think I came close. She had gone behind my back. She had strangers in my home without permission. She tried to lease my condo, the home I busted my ass to buy, because she decided it was a good idea. And that's when something in me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. But I made a decision. A very clear, very calm decision. If Courtney wanted to play games in my house, I was going to end them fast. The next morning, I called out sick from work. My manager was surprisingly understanding, though I gave some vague excuse about feeling feverish. In reality, I was wide awake, clear-headed, and had one goal, taking my home and my life back. Courtney had gone out to brunch, which I knew because she always left her location on by default, likely to fish for attention or spontaneous plans from her equally chaotic friends. I watched her little blue dot drift toward a trendy spot downtown where mimosas flowed like water and responsibilities went to die. The moment she was out of range, I got to work. I started in the guest room, though by that point it barely resembled a guest room. It was more like a chaotic thrift store explosion. Piles of fast fashion mixed with half-empty makeup palettes, receipts, old receipts, tangled cords, and shoes, so many shoes. None of them in pairs. It took me less than 20 minutes to throw it all into 3 massive black contractor bags. I didn't fold, I didn't sort, I didn't try to figure out what was valuable. If it wasn't mine, it was going. I included the half-empty hair dye kit she left on my bathroom counter, her knockoff designer purse, and the hideous gold wall art she had temporarily put up to brighten the space. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened Facebook Marketplace, took a quick photo of the black bags in my hallway, and wrote, "Free, roommate's belongings, first come, first serve. Don't ask what's inside. If it's here, it's yours." I carried the bags down to the back entrance of the building, the one with no cameras, no nosy neighbors, and left them beside the trash bins. Just to be extra clear, I taped a note on one bag, "Enjoy. Moving out is cleansing." Then I went back upstairs, brewed myself a cup of tea, and opened the Ring app on my phone. Within 30 minutes, people started showing up. A guy on a scooter stuffed one bag into his basket and rode off like he'd won the lottery. A woman in yoga pants picked through another, pulled out a hoodie, and grinned like she'd struck gold. A teenager took the third one and jogged away. It was like watching a social experiment unfold in real time, and every person who walked away with one of Courtney's things felt like a personal victory. 2 hours later, Courtney came home. I knew the moment she stepped through the front door because my phone lit up with Ring notifications and her face, twisted with confusion, flashed across the screen. She walked straight to the guest room, expecting her usual mess, and was greeted by an empty bed, vacuum lines on the carpet, and nothing else. She screamed. Not a normal scream. Not an "I stubbed my toe" or "there's a spider" scream. This was a primal, rage-soaked, soul-piercing scream that echoed through the condo like an alarm going off. I genuinely thought the glassware in the kitchen would shatter. I didn't flinch. I didn't say a word. I sat calmly on the couch, phone in hand, tea in the other. When she finally turned and demanded to know what I had done, I met her eyes and said as evenly as possible, "You brought strangers into my home. Consider this a reality check." She spiraled. She cried, stomped, flailed. Accused me of ruining her life, of stealing her identity, of betraying her. She grabbed her phone and called our mom. I could hear her crying into the speaker, painting me as some heartless villain who had discarded her worldly possessions like trash. I didn't bother defending myself. I just stood up, opened the door, and waited. Eventually, she left. She slammed the door so hard that a photo frame on the wall tilted. I didn't fix it right away. I just stared at it, slightly crooked, as if it were a symbol of everything she'd disturbed. She went to stay with a friend, someone named Kyle, I think, who lived in a studio apartment above a vape shop. Wherever she landed, it wasn't my problem anymore. The silence that followed her absence felt like a weighted blanket I didn't know I needed. I finally slept that night. Really slept. No FaceTime calls at midnight, no clutter in the hallway, no sense of tension creeping up my spine every time I entered my own kitchen. I thought it was over. I really did. But Courtney has a unique talent for creating messes that ripple far beyond their point of origin. A few days when I got a call from a landlord downtown. Apparently, Courtney had applied for an upscale apartment in Lodo, lower downtown, the trendy, overpriced part of Denver with exposed brick lofts and valet trash service, using my identity. She didn't just use my name. She used everything. My income. My credit score. My credentials as a licensed pharmacist. She even attached a forged pay stub, one that looked eerily similar to the ones I kept in my locked desk drawer, the one she must have rifled through when I was out grocery shopping or at work saving lives while she was busy freeloading and filming TikToks. It was so brazen, so stunningly stupid, that for a few minutes I couldn't even react. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash you couldn't stop, horrifying and mesmerizing all at once. This wasn't her usual recklessness. This wasn't forgetting to clean the kitchen or borrowing my things without asking. This was deliberate. Strategic. She had planned it out down to the detail. My signature faked. My tax ID number typed in cleanly. Even the pay stub she used had been edited with a level of effort she'd never once applied to her own life. The only reason I found out was because the leasing office called me to verify some details. The woman on the phone was polite but clearly confused. She said, "Hi Vanessa, just confirming your employment before we finalize the lease for the Lodo unit." I froze. The only thing I could say was a confused, "I think there's been a mistake," but inside, every nerve in my body was on fire. She gave me the unit number, the rental amount, $2,945 plus amenities, and my brain short-circuited. That was almost double my mortgage. For a one-bedroom. I stayed calm on the phone. I told her I had not applied for any apartment and that someone was likely using my personal information without permission. She hesitated, then offered to send me the application. I gave her my real email address. 10 minutes later, a PDF landed in my inbox. Opening that file was like peeling back a layer of rot. The application had my name. My address. My job. My salary. The pharmacy license number I memorized when I got certified. It even had the exact figure from my last paycheck. She must have stolen it from a stub I left in my desk drawer when sorting tax documents. The email used was one of the burner accounts I'd already flagged when she tried to pull a similar stunt earlier. The phone number? Hers, of course. She must have planned to intercept any verification calls and pretend to be me. Or worse, hope they wouldn't bother checking at all. She even had the audacity to list me as her emergency contact. I studied the signature line. It was laughable. She didn't even try to match my real handwriting. It was her rushed, looping scrawl, slightly tilted like she signed it from the passenger seat of someone's car. And she submitted it, fully expecting to lock herself into a luxury lease on my back. It wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't just violation. It was criminal. But I didn't explode. I didn't call her in a rage. I didn't scream into the void like she did when I tossed her stuff out. Instead, I sat at my kitchen counter, printed every page of the application, laid them out like evidence in a courtroom, and took crystal-clear pictures. I saved them to a folder on my laptop, uploaded them to the cloud, and backed them up on a flash drive I stored in a fireproof box. Then I waited. I knew she was staying at Kyle's studio apartment, the one above the vape shop near Colfax. I waited until after sunset when I knew she wouldn't be home. I texted her, "We need to talk. Urgently." As expected, she replied in under 2 minutes with something casually dismissive and borderline rude. Typical Courtney, confident she could smooth it over with a few jokes and a guilt trip. I didn't engage. I sent her one photo, the signature page of the lease. No message. Just the image. This time, the silence stretched longer. 15 minutes. Then my phone exploded with texts. Excuses. Denials. Explanations that contradicted themselves with every line. She claimed it was just a placeholder, that she wasn't going to submit it, and that it was just to see what she could get approved for. She told me to calm down. Said I was overreacting. That no one got hurt. That she hadn't even signed the final lease. I replied once, "You committed identity fraud. I've already filed a police report." That part wasn't true. Not yet. But she didn't know that. I wanted her to feel it. That pressure in her chest. That cold ripple of fear that comes when you realize the game is up and your usual escape route is blocked. And it worked. The tone shifted immediately. The text stopped. No more denials. No more justifications. Just silence. Then came the digital disappearance. Text stopped delivering. Calls rang once and dumped me into voicemail. Her Instagram account vanished. Twitter too. Even the shared Spotify playlist she once added sad breakup songs to during one of her doomed relationships was gone. She erased herself from my devices like she was going underground. She thought blocking me would end the story. That I'd just give up. That I'd move on. She always had a warped belief that consequences were optional, that if she ignored something long enough, it would dissolve on its own. But I had already learned that Courtney didn't stop until someone stopped her. She thought she could run. She thought she could rewrite the narrative and cut me out of it like a bad photo. She thought wrong. Then she blocked me. A few weeks passed, and I thought that was the end of it. Courtney had gone silent, completely off-grid. Her social media was scrubbed, mutual friends hadn't heard from her, and even our mother, who always tried to smooth things over no matter how chaotic Courtney got, stopped asking me to reach out. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt peace return to my condo. I started cooking again, reading in the evenings, and even went back to yoga without the weight of second-guessing whether I'd come home to find my life rearranged. It felt like detox. The absence of her chaos was more powerful than I expected. I could hear myself think again. I stopped walking through my own front door with that low-grade anxiety humming under my skin, waiting to discover some new disaster or violation. I even found myself sleeping more deeply. The tension I hadn't realized I'd been carrying slowly started to unravel from my spine, day by day. Then came the message. Not from Courtney, but from a friend, someone I knew from pharmacy school who happened to run in the same social orbit as Courtney's never-ending supply of couch-crashing besties. It was casual at first. They asked if I was okay, then said they'd heard something weird through the grapevine involving Courtney and a girl named Jasmine. I had never heard of Jasmine, but I got the story in pieces. Apparently, Jasmine was a friend kind of acquaintance. Not close, but kind enough to offer Courtney a couch to sleep on after she got kicked out of Kyle's place for causing tension, which, translated out of Courtney's essay, likely meant trying to sign a lease behind his back too. From what I gathered, Jasmine lived in a small one-bedroom in Capitol Hill, was working 2 jobs to stay afloat, and had no idea who Courtney really was. She just thought she was helping someone in a rough patch. For the first few days, Courtney was on her best behavior. She made coffee in the mornings, offered to clean up, even talked about getting a job at a juice bar nearby. She folded towels. She complimented Jasmine's outfits. She acted like someone who could be trusted. But then, the pattern began again. She started bringing up Jasmine's apartment. Casually, at first. Asking questions about the lease. Talking about monetizing in used space. Suggesting short-term sublets. Then came the comments, "You could make so much money renting this place while you're at work, and have you ever considered doing Airbnb?" Jasmine brushed it off, not realizing that Courtney wasn't just talking, she was plotting. The final straw came when Jasmine had a late shift at the coffee shop. She came home, exhausted and smelling like espresso grounds, and found two strangers, a young couple, standing in her living room, looking around. Courtney, dressed like a real estate agent from a discount drama, was giving them a tour. Smiling. Gesturing toward the windows. Telling them it wouldn't be available for long. Jasmine lost it. She kicked Courtney out on the spot. Threw her bag, the same overstuffed one she had hauled into my guest room, into the hallway and told her never to come back. But Courtney had already left something behind. A few days later, Jasmine was cleaning out the bedroom closet and found a beat-up spiral notebook. The kind Courtney always carried but rarely used for anything helpful. Most people would have thrown it out, but Jasmine had a bad feeling. Something about Courtney's behavior didn't sit right. She opened it. What she found made her lock her door and call a friend who knew me. Inside the notebook were pages filled with names, phone numbers, addresses, and then, on a page near the back, my full name, my birth date, my social security number, my pharmacy license number, even old passwords that I had used years ago. There were notes about my old addresses, banks I'd used in college, even my childhood dog's name scribbled next to the words possible security QS. It wasn't just a list. It was a dossier. It wasn't the work of someone in crisis. It was the work of someone who intended to step into someone else's skin and wear it like a costume. Jasmine took one look and realized what she was holding. Through our mutual contact, she sent a photo of the page with a message that read, "I think your sister's not well. You need to see this." I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't even feel surprised. I just felt a cold, quiet finality settle into my bones. Like the last door closing in a house that no longer belonged to you. That was my final straw. I didn't hesitate this time. I called the non-emergency police line, explained the entire situation, and officially filed the report. I gave them copies of the lease applications, the fake email addresses, screenshots of messages, and now, the pages from the notebook. The officer I spoke to didn't seem surprised. He said cases like this, involving family, involving identity fraud, happen more than people think. He took the report seriously. He asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. I didn't do it for revenge. I didn't do it to scare her. I did it because I finally understood something I had been denying for years. Courtney didn't just need help. She needed accountability. And I couldn't live the rest of my life waiting for the next time she used my name like a skeleton key to unlock a life she never earned. The report gave me a case number. That case number gave me leverage. I sent it to the credit bureaus and placed fraud alerts on my credit file. I signed up for credit monitoring, changed every password I had, enabled two-factor authentication on everything from my bank to my electric bill. I called the licensing board to notify them of the situation, in case Courtney ever tried to impersonate me in any professional capacity. I even had my locks changed, not just the front door, but the building key fob, the mailbox, everything. I notified my employer, updated my security questions, and archived every piece of data Courtney might have once accessed. I burned every access point down to ash. And then, like clockwork, the email came. It was long. It was dramatic. It was written like a monologue in a soap opera. She accused me of ruining her life. She said I was jealous of her freedom, that I was cold and vindictive and never understood her need to live outside the lines. She claimed she had always admired my discipline but couldn't live like me, chained to structure and stability. She said I would regret being so heartless. She didn't apologize. Not once. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The sister I once loved was now someone I had to legally protect myself from. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was just done. As of today, Courtney hasn't contacted me again. No texts, no calls, no fake apologies. I don't know where she's staying, and I don't care. I'm sure she's found another couch, another kind stranger to manipulate. I just hope, for their sake, they figure it out sooner than I did. My peace is sacred now. My space, my time, my name, they belong to me again. And if Courtney ever gets it into her head to circle back and try this again, she'll find out the hard way that I am not the same person who said yes to a few days of crashing on my couch. And if not? At least she knows not to mess with my space ever again.